Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another coffee and cake conversation with myself, Neil Shorthouse. And I'm delighted to be joined by a fellow HR training practitioner and professional, and also a colleague of mine from the Maldives, Mr. Afif Hussain. Afif, how are you doing?
I'm very well. Life couldn't be better. I'm obviously in the resort right now. Obviously, this is the fourth month we are into confinement to the resort venue and the premises. But life is good. I mean, we take as it comes. So I'm doing very well. Thank you. And I think it's great to have this conversation with you today on your coffee and cake program. I have listened to the previous conversation, and it is so it's good to connect with somebody from different perspective, different part of the world, and really share how their time and thinking is. And it's, there's always learning around it. So I'm great to be speaking today with you on this.
No pleasure. As I said, it's something that people know that I like coffee and cake. Unfortunately, virtually we're not there in person. But for those who don't know you, Afif, can you just let people know what you do with regards to a job and where you're actually based in the Maldives?
Yeah, I'm right now in the Maldives in South Atoll. So obviously I do a lot of things, and I always say that if you are, for example, if you are not good at what you do, and an introduction won't help you. And if you're good at what you do, you won't need an introduction, which I think we'll see from the conversation we have later today. But I look after the training development and, of course, the human resources of the both properties of Lux South, Lux North. I support, the brand in terms of their quality and making sure that the organizational culture is maintained. Apart from that, of course, it's my passion to speak, to travel around the world, which I do often, except this period. Like you and I discussed earlier, this is the only time in the last 10 years I haven't traveled anywhere, But it has its good parts of it too. And I also was one of the founder of the Maldives Association of HR Professionals. I'm the president of the association, and handles all different of national level initiatives to support the human capital development. So I hope that's good for now.
No, absolutely. And sometimes, Afif and I actually do catch up more in London than we do actually in the Maldives, depending on.
Yeah, I remember we had a couple of discussions in a few places in London. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, Afif, as you know, and you've been obviously watching some of the coffee and cake conversations that I've been doing. Just basically, I guess then from our viewers and our readers, our listeners' perspective, actually, what have you guys actually been doing at Lux during this period of lockdown, which we're now, I guess, into month number 4? We've seen obviously a lot of videos of the guests leaving, and once the guests have left the island, some people have asked me, do the resort staff then just go and have a bit of a holiday? I don't think that's the case. So what have you guys been doing? I'm sure you've been keeping them busy.
Yeah, well, no, the last 4 months have been extremely busy. It has been, actually, we've been more occupied, I would say, at least from my level, been more occupied than before. We have done quite a lot of things. I think the day our last guest left, 28th of March, which is just a day before the border closed, just a day after the border closed. So we actually started already thinking when we're going to reopen, really. And obviously we knew it was not even before the peak of the COVID in the Maldives. It's still not very good in the Maldives. We still have, yesterday when there's 33 cases, Mali is still not very safe. A lot of high risk, even though we opened. So I think looking at that, we've done a lot of things. And if I have to, tell you, it could take hours, but I just want to brief you probably on 3 things. And I think it's very important, our people. So we have maintained a constant touch with them. When we went into lockdown, I personally shared my contact email with everybody. We, of course, send a lot of our people to leave, told them if there's anything, they can always contact me. So it's always good to have one point of contact, and I've been the main point of contact for anything related to COVID, returning to work, procedures, guidelines, what have you. Also, our guests are important. So we reach out to all our guests, not just the guests in the last couple of months. We actually reach out to nearly 5,000 of our guests has been to Lux in the last, 5 years also. Of course, with the guests who we had the details or their contact details, and we reached them out and we said, how you doing, and when you plan to travel, how is your family, and the guests were very surprised, because some guests, especially from the Great Britain, in different parts of the Great Britain, we had many guests who said, well, we're so happy that you guys are still thinking about us, because we're still struggling, And that's, I think, the part of the hospitality is the harmony that exists between our guests and the people. So we try to do that. So, and also the third thing has been really making sure that all the risk associated with the COVID resort closure, reopening is mitigated, is handled. So we have been quite proactive. We're doing, for example, since 27th of February, we have had our senior leadership virtual meetings. So there's about 37 of them, which is led by our CEO, Paul Jones, that we did religiously every Friday, every Tuesday for nearly 3 hours. And what we discuss is about our people, our guests. And what's interesting is, obviously, at times we talk about numbers, but lesser we talk about the numbers, but more we talk about the people, the guests, and how can we make sure we reopen with the safe procedure and manner. So we have been quite, busier, I suppose, in terms of, and I can also say productive in terms of, because we knew we had to focus on the bigger picture. So the time has been never better for us to rethink about our business, to shape our business, and we have taken great decisions to keep our business going and to keep our people. And yeah, it has been a great time.
I think it's good. I think a key point there actually is as well that up until now, both you and I have worked in the industry, and it's always been about the numbers. And knowing yourself, your background, my background, and those colleagues that we know in the Maldives, that a lot of us, we always push the people element, that sometimes your numbers are good, but if you don't look after your people, so how have you managed to keep those that are on the island focused? Because I think potentially the next thing it's going to be putting human back into human resources, but more so about the mental health, well-being, etc. So how have you, especially those that were unfortunately unable to go home maybe for Ramadan, or have been unable to go, how have you kept them motivated and sort of focused on not only their well-being, but that of the resorts team as well?
Well, we had this in phases. I mean, I knew that, to be honest, that I was in January when I remember I was in Singapore, and then in February I was in Singapore, and obviously the COVID cases are getting higher. The numbers are increasing around the world. It then reached to Singapore. When it reached to Singapore, in fact, I was there, and then I came back to Maldives, and I think since then I haven't gone out. And I knew that this is going to hit us so bad. I knew that the properties are going to close, not just us, everything. I knew that we're going to go to standstill. It's because I've studied the previous pandemics. I knew how this is going to occur, and obviously that it came to reality. So because we knew what we knew before, we were very proactive. So we already put a lot of measures in place. I think we were one of the first resort in the Maldives. We started in mid-February, early February, already started taking temperature of all our staff. We had a stock of sanitizers and things that we need. So we already put other. So I think proactiveness has given its benefit to us in a greater deal. And also we were very proactive when the border closed. We knew who needs to go home, expatriates or locals. So the day that our resort got permission to send our people, I think it was 11th of April, we actually sent everyone to their island. Nearly 150 locals went to their home in 24 hours, which I think has been a great achievement. But because we prepared, we knew we had speedboats in place, we found tickets. So we weren't waiting for somebody to tell us what to do. And the same thing with expatriates. If there were any flights that left Maldives, we put our people on them. So right now we have 120 people on the island, and we keep them busier by, we just still have regular meetings. We have regular town halls. We still do the best team member of the month award. So we didn't really cut down on anything that we used to do. So we kept them engaged, and we have lots of projects that they need to work on. So there's daily checking of that and daily reporting of how the work is being carried out. And of course, this pandemic has taught us the value. I think it always has been a great value of health and wellness, but at workplace, people didn't really pay attention to the wellness. I think organizations realize the importance of it, because if your people are not well, mentally not well, physically not well, you can't get the productivity anyway. And the cost is really tremendous for organizations. So what we did was we obviously put a lot of outdoor, run activities or fitness boot camps, and even in the canteen we really have, put quite a healthy salad selection just to increase the the intake of good food for our people. Of course, because in the Maldives, there are many colleagues from different parts of the world, so they always want to also have food, which are not probably healthier from a healthy perspective, but we've changed things. So keeping people healthy and keeping them active really has been a mandatory requirement, even right from the border closure to sending people home, and even now. So we do weekly runs, fitness programs. I mean, and we've given because the resort is closed now, the staff can go and hang around in the guest area, do runs. I mean, I used to see now every day. I mean, I'm a regular runner now, so I do practice and I've done a few marathons here and there. So now I've seen daily there's about 20 team members who run around the resort. So a lot of people, they lost their weight, and obviously now the resort is closed. I hope they maintain that, and I'm trying to instill that mindset with them, that if they found 30 minutes for them while we're closed, even if we are open, they can still find. It's a mindset. So I really hope to maintain that, but our team has been very, very healthy, I must say. And because of that, we also see the number of people that report to clinic with this minor illness is very, very less. So that has been quite a big achievement, I would say.
No, I think there's there's definitely something to celebrate, and there's keeping people active and focused during this type of situation, because not everyone's gone through this type of situation whereby all of a sudden your day-to-day is taken out of your control, and you have to rely on other individuals to tell you what's happening and what's going. So moving forward then, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for HR, learning and development within the Maldives? What do you think, for those that are either staying within the profession, I'm sure we're seeing new people come through, but based on the experience that you've just had, what do you think they're going to need to do differently moving forward to ensure that you not only engage with your team members, but you have the ability to have empathy with them, understand, and almost actually take time out to listen to what they're saying? So what do you think, from your perspective, at Lux and other resorts, what things do you think people should start doing differently or potentially put into practice that they haven't done before?
Yeah, I think there's one big element. I'll share three things. One of the things is that, I'm always been an advocate of that the HR department is not an administrative department. It has to be a service department. If you can't, and service department means you really have to be somebody who can get out from your chair, from your office, go out there and see how people do, what people do, how you can serve them. And obviously this post-pandemic, I think if there's one thing that we have learned is that how can we teach our people, to be more human? Because there's a very big difference between being a human being and being human. Being human is all about, these, making sure that you understand, how other person feels, of course, listen, compassion, care. I mean, the list is huge. But the most important thing is that how can the team reach out to their people? I just give an example. Many organizations, not just resorts, there are many companies that have closed their business and their people are away. Even for coffee shops in Mali, until a couple of days, they were all closed. So during the past 4 months, have they proactively reached out to their people and check on how they're doing? If they haven't done it, that's very, very bad. I mean, that's very poor, I would say, to be honest. There really is no other word I can use that. But if we have reached them out, perfectly fine. That's really what we're talking about. I mean, I share best practice. The last 3 months, we have had a virtual town hall with all our team members, and the response has been great, not just here. In all our properties, we did that. And people, they know the updates, so they know that we care for them, right? So I think once people are back, you can still do the same thing. When properties open, there will still be a lot of people that we may not be bringing to work simply because of the business and the level. So the resource will open in different phases. So even when people come back, make sure you have a great welcome for them. But not just that, but really show that your service departments, you check on people and making sure that you give them the guidance, and also reach to the people who will not be able to come back to work, because many country borders won't open, even Maldives open their border. I think we've been very proactive, but obviously it has its risk like any other country. So the key part is really how can you turn around your HR department into a service department, that can be proactive, understand the sense of urgency, listen to people, and really don't wait for your colleagues to follow up and come back to you. You stay one step ahead, right? And the next thing is, I think, learning and development. Obviously, we know that many companies, they did a lot of virtual programs, which works quite well. We have learned a lot of new ways of teaching people. So don't let this go when you reopen. You can still reach out to people, and you can still do your virtual programs and in-house programs. Of course, resorts are considered as very safe, so you can do in-house training. However, you don't want to lose the contact of people who are not here. So you can still conduct the virtual learning, and really look into how you can upskill the people, the new talents, development initiatives and things that you have put in place before may not be reliable now. So how can you explain it to them? Let's say if you have promised a promotion for someone in this August, it may not happen now because things have changed. So how can you still keep the person on track by perhaps giving him new objectives, new goals, right? I think this will be key. And really I think the last part is the wellness and health of our people, because I encourage all HR professionals, resorts, hotels, companies to create, the role of wellness officer in your team. You don't have to hire someone. No, you don't have to hire. If you have an HR coordinator, a training officer, just give her the responsibility and say human resource executive and wellness officer. And her job or his job will be to, put wellness programs together, be the mastermind, to be the advocate. And that's what I'm planning to do. When we reopen, I haven't yet decided, but within the HR, we'll take one colleague who will become the wellness officer for team members. And his or her job will be to really drive these initiatives. You do yoga classes, you coordinate with others, and you do run and this and that. It just helps people to be very proactive. So the three things: number one, making your HR department a service provider, not an administrative department. To me, the days of HR administration, that's very basic. It's gone, right? So that's number one. Number two is really the evolution of your learning and development within the organization. And number three is wellness and health of your people. So keep these three priorities, you make action plan. I think you'll be very, very successful, because life is not going to go back into its where it was before up until 2023, at least, because in the Maldives, the operator of the airport company, MSCL, estimated that the number of flights that we used to operate to Maldives prior to the pandemic, that same operation can only be forecasted for 2023. Maybe a miracle can happen, who knows? No. And maybe by the next December or results will be full, who knows? But we should be ready for all aspects here.
No, absolutely. And the airport discussion, that's a whole nother conversation piece about, do you have one airport, do you have regional airports? But no, the whole element of actually talking to your team members. Unfortunately, those individuals within our profession that have unfortunately been unprofessional in how they've dealt with their team members during this period of time, don't be surprised if it comes back and bites them, because how you treat people, they're going to remember. Everyone's been, it's impacted everyone. And as you said, those that have taken the time and effort to have that conversation, to genuinely check in, to say, how are you doing, how are things, that means a lot to a lot of people. Even myself, during this period of time, we've not had the best of times, unfortunately, within the family, but just to get that phone call from people completely randomly that I've not spoken to in months, and it's genuine because you can sense it and you can feel it as well. And also, you know, having an advocate or a champion within that HR functionality to deliver the wellness and the well-being of individuals is key, as also encouraging other departments to be engaged with it as well, so that it's just not one person doing it as well. So I know that you are busy because you're obviously running the resort and getting ready to reopen. If I could say to you your top 3 tips on, you know, what someone sitting in the chair that we sit in most days, you know, top 3 tips that you would give to them to make sure that they can be successful and they have the ability to deliver in the next 6 to 12 months, what would you say would be the top 3 things for them to focus on as themselves individually, but also for the resort team members?
Yeah, I think the first thing I want to emphasize is the importance of what I often refer to as, and I suppose in the industry and in the world of business is referred as growth mindset. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there even now that you can learn and, you know, upskill yourself. There's so many free programs on LinkedIn. I mean, a very big online learning platform like Tipsy, they have a lot of programs, and there's a lot of things. But the question is how many people are taking these chances? I mean, often we say we don't have the opportunities, we don't get this, we don't get that. Well, when it is there, how often? And I know there are many people out there that just, you know, probably let the day go without doing anything. I think it is very, 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 very sad. So my first tip is really look out. I mean, I've, you know, done so many different online programs and it has helped me a lot. Of course, there are some repetitions because, you know, I mean, in the world of business, you know, what you learn is what you learn. I mean, there's no new, I suppose, concepts. There's evolutions of these existing concepts, you know. So but you understand, and, you know, when you learn it, it makes you a better person. And I think this conversation is an example of it. I mean, we're doing this because you and I are having a conversation. If you listen to this, take notes, there's definitely good things. And, you know, you don't really have to agree on everything we say because this is our perspective. So, but you can still take notes, and if it applies to you, do something. It doesn't apply, you know, let it go. That's all right. But I think taking the opportunity and linking the opportunity with, you know, you have to ask a question. I think in the last 4 months, have you, you know, if you ask as a person individually, if you're a viewer of this video, ask a question that what did you learn in the last 4 months in this post-pandemic? And if you go like, oh my God, I don't remember what I learned. Did I do anything? I mean, you've wasted 4 months in your life. But if you think, oh yeah, I remember I did this, I did that, I learned this, I enhanced my skill on this, you know, it's perfectly fine. I mean, I've never been a tech specialist, you know. I mean, like I'm you know, even when it comes to using emails, I probably know the basic features and I use it to the best of my ability. But in the last 4 months, I've learned how to make online videos. I've learned how to make ebooks. I've learned, I mean, you know, I spent time on studying and fine-tune. I've done nearly 10,000 hours, credits of online courses on different platforms, right? And some are free, some are chargeable. You spend a bit of money if you know you can. So number one is really take the opportunities. Don't let it go because you may not get these opportunities again, right? So the second important thing I believe is that, you know, taking care of yourself, because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. You can't serve other people. So what I mean by taking care of yourself involves really giving time to yourself, you know, find what you love doing, be grateful, and also your health is wealth. I think it has always been that, you know, health is really the wealth, but people don't talk much about it because in our generation, in this century, this is the first time that we actually experienced this pandemic. None of us, and our you know, probably very few people, you know, very few people living in the world, they experienced the 1918 pandemic, which was much worse than this because the world was in a bad state. So I think looking after yourself will become a very important thing, because if you can't look after yourself, how can you serve other people? So we need to focus on good eating habits, you know, healthy practices of fitness and good, you know, sleep quality. And, you know, and then these are just some tips, you know, and I'm also learning it, but just see how we can implement. And the third important, I think, aspect is that in terms of, especially if we're looking after people, right? How do you bring them together and getting them to this new mindset? Obviously, we often hear the word new normal. Of course, it is a term that came because we have to do things a little bit differently. One could call it abnormal, but obviously abnormal has a negative meaning into it. So I think people said, okay, new normal. I think it really is a new mindset. I wrote an article about it. And to me, the new normal is a mindset that we bring to work. We often say, we're in this together. What does really it mean? It really means that how I behave impacts the health of you, and how you behave impacts the health of me. So wear your mask, often wash your hands, sanitize, and make sure that you really pay attention when you go to places. Don't just go and touch things and, just pretend like. You have to be very intentional about when you go to a restaurant, when you go to places. And if you can do this, then you will actually help the world to get through this. So this really things just, I know I spoke a lot, but just in brief, it's really taking the opportunities to develop yourself and looking after yourself, your health, your wellness. And the third, and obviously a very important thing, is that how you live this post-pandemic, because the way you live and your mindset has a huge impact on other people. So you don't want to be the one, perhaps spreading the virus, we could say that, because one action from you could make lots of people get this virus. And of course, it's dangerous. So we want to make sure you are a part of controlling the spread. So that's, I think, three things I would consider sharing for now.
No, and they're absolutely right. At the end of the day, both you and I do these, various online, discussions and that, and it's there to assist, support, help. And if, for me, if one person walks away and go, you know what, I learned something, then it's worthwhile doing it. And at the same time, I get to have a bit of a conversation with, colleagues that I don't always get to catch up with. I think your point about looking after yourself, I always call it me time. Those that know me well, those that have worked with me, it's always encourageable. So you need to have your own time out of the environment. And when I worked on properties, if I had one of those moments, I'd be like, well, I'm having me time. And everybody knew that meant that I needed 5-10 minutes out, inevitably having a coffee somewhere. But that was for me to have that moment. But I think also for those of us that are very much service orientated, we're very quick to say yes to people. Yes, we'll do this, yes, we'll do that. Sometimes you need to say no, because the moment you constantly say yes, are you actually doing it to the detriment of your own health, well-being? And sometimes you need to turn around to people and say, you know what, unfortunately, I can't do it today because I need to look after myself. I need to do something for me. And it's absolutely fine to do that, especially those that are in positions, especially within, HR, learning and development. I had one captain that I worked with on a ship. He always used to refer to me as Mother Goose or Father Goose, because I looked after everyone. It doesn't matter whether it was the GM, whether it was a steward, you are responsible for everyone. And especially in a resort environment where people also live and work there, you have that additional, ability or additional responsibility. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that you are super busy. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you hopefully very soon somewhere in Mali, where we can actually have a real, coffee and piece of cake somewhere, somewhere in the Maldives.
I think it's great to have this conversation. I love sharing, my knowledge and what I know and what I believe. So thank you. And it's great to catch up with you. And, I was supposed to be in London in April. I registered myself for a half marathon, the Virgin Marathon. It didn't happen.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I look forward to definitely being there. There was an event that was supposed to be in May that also didn't happen. So there's a couple of trips I already had planned for London that there was moved, but hopefully we can either catch up here in the Maldives, and when you come, I'm sure it'll be a good time to travel. So hopefully we can meet. And thank you, and keep up the spirit.
And you, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Very good.
Yeah. So I think you're still recording, right? You post record.
It's done. Stopped it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. So I hope that was good.
No, I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Thank you.